Podcast 13, Week 15. Welcome to the podcast, Your Pregnancy Week by Week. This podcast covers the 40 weeks of pregnancy in 38 segments and is based on the book Your Pregnancy Week by Week by Dr. Glade Curtis, MD, and me, Judith Schuler, MS. The information in our books and podcasts is a general informative guide about pregnancy. None of the information we provide is intended to replace, countermand, or conflict with the advice given to you by your own doctor. Always follow his or her advice. Use the information you learn here as a starting place in your dialogue to help you put your pregnancy concerns, questions, or interests into words. The goal of every pregnancy is a healthy mom and a healthy baby. To that end, our podcasts cover many topics. In each weekly podcast, we'll highlight information contained in the same weekly discussion in our book. We suggest you read each weekly chapter to learn further information, such as how baby is growing and changing, and how you're growing and changing too. Our book also contains illustrations of changes in baby or you, advice for dads, charts, lists, boxes, an exercise for every week, a comprehensive glossary, hints, tips, snippets, and blurbs we just can't reproduce in a podcast. So let's get started on this week's discussion. We're going to look at week 15. As baby grows, it produces alpha-fetoprotein, AFP, that can be measured by testing your blood. Too much or too little may be a sign of problems. If your AFP level is abnormal, your doctor may order additional tests. Timing of the test is very important. Doctors use your weight and the gestational age of your pregnancy to interpret results. AFP is often used with other tests. If the test isn't offered, ask about it. It can help your doctor see how baby is growing and developing. Did you have a pap smear before pregnancy or at your first prenatal visit? Be sure to ask about your results. This important test identifies cancerous or precancerous cells from the cervix. This test has helped reduce the number of deaths from cervical cancer because of early detection and treatment. If your doctor is concerned with your test results, he or she may do a procedure to examine the cervix. There are several ways to treat abnormal cells, but most treatment methods are done after pregnancy. Communication between you and your doctor is critical. Miscommunication can be a source of conflict. To help the process, be the best patient you can be. Follow your doctor's advice and instructions. If you have questions or disagree, discuss it. When a test or procedure is ordered, ask why it's being done, and be sure to get test results. Tell your doctor everything he or she needs to know about you. Go to visits with questions or concerns written down, and then write down the answers or record them on your phone. About this time, you may need to start adding some extra calories to your meal plan. This doesn't mean you can eat more French fries or have a candy bar. You'll only need about 300 extra calories. That's not a lot of food. It's about 1 apple and a carton of yogurt. So be cautious with your food choices. Make them healthy ones. Discomforts of pregnancy can impact your sleep. Not being able to get good sleep is a common pregnancy complaint. You may have to make some changes. One of the most important things we can tell you is not to lie on your back after this point in pregnancy, because it decreases circulation to baby and parts of your body. This goes for sleep and rest. If you have difficulty sleeping, you may be at higher risk of some problems. Make every effort to get the best sleep and rest you can. We need to address a subject that can be painful to talk about: domestic violence. It's become a serious problem in the United States. The term domestic violence refers to violence against adolescent and adult females within a family or intimate relationship. Violence can be physical, sexual, economic, emotional, or psychological. If you've suffered abuse, it may continue or even escalate during pregnancy. If you've never been abused, it may even begin during pregnancy. Domestic abuse kills more pregnant women than any medical complication of pregnancy. It accounts for 20% of all pregnancy-related deaths. If you're being abused, we encourage you to seek help immediately. Intervention can be life-saving for you and baby. Talk to a friend, relative, someone at your church or your doctor, and ask for help. If you want advice, call the 24-hour National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233 or check their website for help and advice. Now that you're pregnant, you may receive lots of advice and information, whether you welcome it or not. Some may be useful, some may be frightening, and some may be laughable. Should you believe everything you hear? Probably not. You can ignore most of it. But not all old wives' tales are false. Some are true. If you've heard if you suffer from heartburn, baby will have a full head of hair, it's often true. Read up to learn the facts. Tay-Sachs disease occurs more frequently in Ashkenazi Jews. About 1 in every 30 American Jews carries the Tay-Sachs gene. But some non-Jewish people of French-Canadian ancestry and members of the Cajun population in Louisiana are also at increased risk. The disease is hereditary, and if you carry the gene, it can be diagnosed before pregnancy with a test. It can also be diagnosed in baby before birth with amniocentesis and chorionic villus sampling. Ask your doctor for information if you believe you may be at risk. Having a baby can mean a lot of financial changes in your life. Don't wait, start now. Examine your wills and update them if necessary. Be sure to name a guardian for your child in case something happens to both of you. Other important tasks include checking life insurance and health insurance to be sure coverage is enough for your family. You also need to consider childcare costs if both of you will return to work. Read our companion book, Your Pregnancy for the Father-to-Be, for more specifics. Have you heard of a bicornuate uterus? The usual shape of the uterus is a pear, but that's not the case for every woman. A bicornuate uterus has 2 separate cavities instead of 1. Usually a woman with a bicornuate uterus has no difficulties getting pregnant or in early pregnancy. However, there are risks for complications. Because a bicornuate uterus can affect the way the baby lies in later pregnancy, a cesarean delivery is often recommended. I have a friend whose daughter had a pregnancy with a bicornuate uterus. She didn't have any trouble getting pregnant and didn't know she had the condition until her first ultrasound. After that, her pregnancy was considered high risk, and she had prenatal appointments every couple of weeks. She took very good care of herself throughout pregnancy and was lucky to go almost to full term. A couple of days before my friend's daughter was going to have a cesarean, she went into labor. Her doctor told her it was unsafe for her to labor, so they did a C-section. My friend's daughter was relieved her good prenatal care allowed her to go full term. The baby was fine and is now growing into an active toddler. Remember, our podcasts give you the highlights of what may be happening in any given week. Check our book, Your Pregnancy Week by Week, for more detailed information. You may also want to check out our book for partners, Your Pregnancy for the Father-to-Be. It covers pregnancy from a man's point of view and provides lots of valuable information a man may find very useful. If you want to find out more about our podcast, visit our website, yourpregnancyweekbyweek.com. If you're looking for something specific, check out the podcast topics list. It details topics covered in each podcast, so you can listen to a particular podcast or read a certain chapter week if you want more information, or if you want to check out something you missed or a topic we haven't covered yet.